there's five students that all of you have ideas, but there's 5 students here that are going to do something with their ideas. And I don't know who you are. And so I talked to a large group. And then when you hear some of the tools we're going to talk about and some of the methods, and I give you my email afterwards, and I'm happy to mentor whoever the 5 of you are. And it's almost proven out over all the many years of doing this that there are 5 rock stars that go on and do amazing things with their ideas. Some of your fellow students took ideas to a successful harvest of $1.8 billion. Not bad. Other students have done so well with their ideas that, unfortunately, I have to have the professors cover their ears. They left school because they were so much in demand to fulfill their idea in the marketplace that they couldn't do it both. And I'm a big advocate of finished school. But, you know, if the idea is generating tens of millions of dollars, maybe it's okay to step away for a season and go do that. I'm a big believer, though, in stay with school and do that. So I'm going to share with you a really sad quote. Am I doing page down on this? Where'd you go? Right here? Okay, this is pretty sad. Buried here are all the ideas never invented, all the great products never made, all the bestsellers never written, masterpieces never painted, innovations never completed, dreams never fulfilled. And it's an unknown author. If that was my quote, I would want to be unknown. That's a sad, that's really dismal. But it's real. You know, when you think about it, if you're not careful, you could be who they're talking about. Great ideas, great masterpieces, just awesome, awesome ideas. But you just let them slip through the cracks and you never really did anything about it, and you joined that club. So when I talk about very few, I do respect the IQ of everyone in this room. You truly are the intellectually gifted of the world sitting in this room. You are the elite. You're in the upper 1% of the world's population of IQs, and that's a gift. However, only a small percent of you will take advantage of that to the extent that we're talking about today. You can have successful lives. I'm just talking about taking your ideas to the marketplace. So I just invite you to be one of the few. This is actually a quote from the U.S. Patent Office Director back in 1899. Everything that can be invented has been invented. And he was recommending to the President of the United States that we close the patent office. Isn't that amazing that his vision was such that everything's been invented? Why do you need me in this job? Now, are there people here today that feel that way? All the really cool things have already been invented. Everything that can be invented has been invented. What in the world could I possibly come up with to outdo anything that's out there today? So if you're thinking like that, well, then you're in this guy's club. You know, close the patent office and call it a day. Elder Nelson said this: "The Lord is inspiring the minds of great people to create inventions that further the work of the Lord in ways the world has never known." So, this is directed to you. The Lord is blessing you with intellect, and you are going to have ideas that could change the world like it's never seen before. So it's pretty powerful. So, I want to have a little fun. I'm going to give you an opportunity to share an idea you've had, and if you're bold enough to raise your hand, and I listen to it, if it's compelling enough, I'll bring you down here, and you'll compete with 3 of you for a grand prize. Okay, I didn't spend a lot on this prize, so don't get it. It's not, it's not an iPad 2. So, who's willing to start us off? It can be an idea of anything. It could be a simple idea. It could be a complex idea. Okay, speak up. Okay. All right, come on down here. All right.
I have a small video production company here in the Valley, and one thing we're kind of considering right now is the new QR codes. In books, having those, at the end of the chapter synopsis, have a little QR code right below the chapter, so you can have an interactive experience and have a little lead into the next chapter, kind of a follow-up from what just already happened, so it's a lot more interactive transmedia.
Okay, come on down.
I don't think I'm going to win.
Confidence now. Yes, go ahead.
Mine is a phone app that would let people sell spots online, book signing for like when Apple comes out with a new product, there are people waiting in line. We match people up, people willing to pay for that first spot in line, people willing to sell it, and match them up and act as like a PayPal or escrow.
Okay, come on down. We'll do 2 more. You and way in the back. Okay, come on down. I'll have to tell you a story about that, all the way in the corner in the back.
We started as a small nonprofit. We're trying to get a team of investors together to create self-sustaining farms down in Central America and different places in South America, teach self-reliance, self-sustainability, different concepts where people can come and learn, not get free handouts and have to work for their food or what have you, and then be given the tools to go on.
Okay, come on down.
Can I change my idea?
No. You have to stay with your idea. You got to be confident.
I have another good one that's probably better.
Okay, what we're going to do is going to let each of these people come to the mic, in case some of you didn't hear it, and do a 30-second. This is an elevator pitch, so you can't go into a big business plan dissertation. Just 30 seconds so everybody can hear, and then we'll do by applause. Mr. Confidence, where are you going? Okay.
Over the past 5 years, Barnes & Noble and companies like that have actually been taking a huge dive. Books and music have been struggling to video quite a bit. So the concept of transmedia through books, the QR codes that allowed people to watch video clips, little synopses of the upcoming chapter, what they just barely read, is something that might be able to enhance the book market a little bit. Through marketing study we've already done, we know that publishing companies like Open House are right now paying like $50,000 per little video for a minute and a half, so we know there's somewhat of a market there.
So last year, when Apple came out with the iPad 2, there was a lady in New York City who sold her first spot in line for $900. So the idea that we had was you create an app where someone's standing in line either to get a book signed or at a concert or waiting for a product. They say, hey, I'm here, I'm 5th in line or 3rd in line, and I'll sell it for this much. And then you have maybe the dad who has a daughter that wants the newest, latest, greatest thing. He doesn't have the time or doesn't want to wait in line, but he'll pay somebody for that spot so he can get it the day it comes out. And so this would connect people, and the company would just take a percentage, just like Amazon does. For each transaction, they take a portion of it. So that's the idea.
The same concept as the little dishwashing sponge that pumps out your soap. It'd be the same idea for a loofah. So you just squirt it out, the body soap, right onto your sponge, and then you don't have to every time pull out your soap and pour it on. So just a one motion type thing.
Think of the nicest old person you know. Think of the pain they have to go through as they sweep their floor day after day. Think of the problems in their back as they bend over, futilely trying to put it in the dustpan over and over again. There is a solution to this problem that hasn't been invented yet, but it deserves to be thought about. And I am currently thinking of a solution for that problem.
I don't think I can follow that. Over 3.5 billion people live on less than $1 a day. There's huge opportunity for social entrepreneurship. It's kind of one of the rising subjects that people want to study, and there's just a big demand for people to go down and help and teach self-sustainability. We currently have a property. We're actually starting in Hawaii. There's a large population of homeless in Hawaii that need to learn self-sustainability, how to be able to be self-sufficient, and how to be able to renew energy, and how to be able to garden and provide for themselves. And we're hoping that will spread. And then at these properties and farms at somewhere where groups of people, churches, youth groups, can go down and experience for a week or two. They can contribute their service at the same time, have a rewarding vacation. People who need the help, who are living on $1 or less a day, who can't really feed their families, can come, and rather than getting a handout, they can work and build up credits. And for their day of work, they can take home their eggs and their vegetables and to be able to provide for their families. Eventually, if they work enough, we can give them a water filter, which provides business for them and their community, clean water for them and their family. And we're hoping that spreads, and that through various contributions from different companies, that there can be various campuses, various farms across the developing countries to really help people progress and become self-sustaining.
Thanks. All right, Andrew, I'm going to have you judge by the sound who won. So we're going to start at the very end. Just give the title of your idea, and then we'll ask for applause. Number one.
The future of sweeping.
Okay.
The loofah 5,000.
Selling spots in mine.
QR codes for book trailers.
Create significance.
All right.
I think it was the third guy, the line.
All right, the line idea. Why don't you present? And the lovely Robin Knab will present the gift. I hope you like vanilla-coated pretzels. It's not indicative of how valuable your idea was, it's just a little gift. This starts to get addicting when you get into it. We could spend the whole time just having you come down and share ideas, and this would be a great time spent together. You think about it, there's people in history that have come up with ideas that you probably would have scoffed at. Like Walt Disney. He's sitting down with investors saying, I've come up with the idea of starting an amusement park with a rodent as the logo. A little mouse. And people are going to go, really? Bill Gates. There's a poster of Bill Gates in the 70s, and he's at a trade show down in San Jose, and he's got a folding table with a little handmade sign that says Microsoft, and one microprocessor, a little PC-like thing, sitting on the table, and people don't even know what operating systems are yet. And he's talking about operating systems for a microprocessor, and he's got his little hands folded like this. There's nobody visiting his booth, and I'm thinking, wow. Did he have any idea that he was going to become the wealthiest person in the world, change technology more than any single person? And so that poster is kind of motivating. So I understand now that your class requires an idea log. This is something I started many years ago, and I'm glad to see the school pick it up and require it. Is that still the case? Yeah. Here's the thing about idea logs. If you'll keep an idea log either on your notebook or on your handheld smartphone, and never quit doing this, not just this class, just always do this. Because ideas are going to come to you in the middle of a sacrament meeting, they're going to come to you in the middle of a basketball game, they're going to come to you on a date, and you just got to excuse yourself on the date. I just got to put this idea down, if you'll excuse me. Save the idea, because how many of you have had really compelling ideas and then you forgot? You know, it was like, oh, what was that idea? And then you see it in the marketplace years later and go, hey, that was my idea. If that's ever happened to you, then you're an inventor. Just because you didn't act on it, you thought of it. And you thought of it before it was in the market, and then it showed up in the market. That's huge validation that you're an inventor. It just means you got to move on it. Sometimes your idea log will perpetuate itself. As you start to have hundreds of ideas, you'll start reading down through your ideas, and that will trigger another 100 ideas. I've told my own children, if they'll keep an idea log all their life, I promise them that one of those ideas will be amazingly successful for them. It has to happen. When you put that much focus on something, you know that one of those is going to be a great success. So where do you get new ideas? Most of you spend a lot of time on the computer, on the internet. That's a great one. There's trade shows. BYU has these business plan competitions. I bet when you sit through a business plan competition, you're going to say to yourself, well, I don't so much like that particular idea, but wow, what if you twisted it a little bit and did this? It would work. You're always trying to discover unmet needs, and there's lots of unmet needs, just billions of them. You're trying to build a better mousetrap. A lot of times it's your own personal experience. Sometimes it's just a frustration you have with something, and you think you have a better way. I just think you should have the always-on mode of thinking of ideas. By the way, if you don't want to do it, there's others that will do it. Just share it with them. So, when you think you've come across a really hot idea, and you'll know it, you'll just know it, this is something I recommend you do. Include some hand-drawn sketch or drawing of it. Doesn't have to be fancy. Get a couple of roommates or friends to sign it and date it and have them, this is the phrase, read and understood. What that means is you have two witnesses that looked at what you're proposing, they understood it, and they signed their name to it that they understood it and dated it. The U.S. Patent Office will actually recognize you as an inventor of that idea as a starting point. And it's simple to do. So part of your idea log is have a couple of signatures and dates next to the ideas that you think are pretty darn good. Now, I've come up with 5 things for the dream idea. Doesn't mean you have to have all 5 of these. But if you want the dream idea, number 1, scalable growth. Could your idea truly take off and hit amazing levels of growth? I get so many people that share ideas with me, and yeah, it's a good idea, but if you sold everyone on the planet that wanted your idea, you might sell 100 of them. What you're looking for is something that's going to really scale. It doesn't have to scale, just that it could scale. Recurring revenue. That means try to have something you don't just sell at one time and then that's the end with that customer. Subscriptions to things. Apps, an app where you have to pay monthly, or a cell phone you have to pay monthly, or internet service you have to pay monthly, and so on and so on. Recurring revenue is really hot right now. Strong gross margins. That just means that you're making a lot of money on every transaction. What's a lot of money? 50% of what you're charging or more is dropping to the bottom line as profit to you. That's considered strong gross margins. Number 4, something proprietary. There's got to be something unique about your idea. Something that you could possibly patent or that's just unique. And then finally, it needs to change the world in some degree. It can be a little change to the world, but it changes the world. Okay? You all have in front of you inventions and phones that change the world. So there's lots more things that are going to change the world. One thing I really encourage the 5 of you out there is take the time while you are a student and get your idea patented. Get a patent filed. What the patent office looks for is it new? Is it useful? And it's called, is it non-obvious? I highly recommend that you go into the bottom one here, Google/patents.com. Google has done a better job than the government on searching on who has been issued patents so far on ideas. So let's say you had the idea of putting on a mountain bike some snow skis so that you could pedal your way across the snow. So you could go into Google/patents.com, mountain bikes with snow skis. And it will tell you there's 900 patents on that already, or it'll say 0 found. So if you have a compelling idea and you do a patent search and nothing comes up, or only a few patents come up, that's worth looking into more. By the way, that's pretty fun. Try it sometime. Come up with a great idea in your head, run to googlepatents.com, and just see if the world has thought of it yet. Now, I'm a big advocate of speed to market, even as a student. Not waiting until you graduate or waiting until you have more money or more resources. Thomas Edison is known as the inventor of electricity. He filed a patent. Can anyone tell me who was the person that came in with the same idea but filed just 3 hours after him? Right. You want to say it louder? Tesla. How come the rest of you don't know him? How many of you know Thomas Edison? Okay, so what's the point here? Was Tesla not as bright as Thomas Edison? No, he was equally bright. Was his patent equally compelling? Yes, it was. He just postmarked it 3 hours too late. Is that tragic? So you got to move on filing your patents. Speed to market is really critical, especially if you think you're on to something. Here's a book for a student so you don't have to use a lawyer. When you get into business, corporate settings, you always want to use patent lawyers. You know, they're always the best to work with. But as a student, you don't want to spend $25,000 on a patent. How about buying this book for $50 and then paying the filing fee, and then that's it. That's your cost. You can do that. You can even get a parent to pay for it if they think your idea is good. So I really recommend those 5 of you that you get this, is it patentable, get this book called Patent It Yourself. And the publisher is right there, nolo.com. I've used this book. It's fabulous. It holds your hand and it walks you right through the process. You can even do a preliminary thing to filing a patent, and that's even cheaper. So if you just want to stake out the date and lock the date so you don't become a Tesla, they have something you can do for that. It's very cheap. And then you have a whole year to file your actual patent. So about 190,000 patents are done a year, and about 12,000 of them are do-it-yourself. So with the intellect in this room, This is a piece of cake. This is not hard at all. By the way, when you're issued a patent, it is so cool. What comes in the mail is a big folder. You open it up, and there's this gold embossed seal with red ribbons, and it has your patent, and it has your name embossed in there, and it's got all the things that they're giving you as a patent. And then you're officially an inventor in the world. That's pretty cool. And I'm going to share with you a couple of fun things about that. Now, here's a couple of ideas that came out of BYU. I'm sorry, one didn't, one did. Okay. Super Shield. I'm going to just make a point that you don't have to have technology. You don't have to have sophisticated ideas to do well. This is a guy from Iran that came over here somehow, living in California. He has a big screen TV, and his kids scratched the screen with a knife. So he's upset. He goes down to Home Depot, and he buys a hunk of plexiglass and some Velcro and puts it over the TV so that won't happen again. And then he noticed that it flattened out the picture, made the picture better. It didn't just protect, but it actually made for a better TV image. So he filed a patent with the U.S. Patent Office. And the patent was simply that, a hunk of plexiglass, Velcro, on a large screen TV. Okay? Well, I happen to know RCA approached him, and I know the man that approached him, and licensed that silly idea from him at over $1 million a year royalty. And he didn't do anything except let them license the patent. I guess he did measure the TVs each year, for RCA, and told them the dimensions they should use. I mean, that was it. So that was pretty incredible. I've always done technology, which is complex, and it has hundreds of components, and getting through the regulatories and all the nightmares. And here's a guy with a hunk of plexiglass and Velcro. BYU student came up with a soap dispenser. That's why I was thinking when this student was telling his idea, all it was a plastic container that sticks on the shower wall, and you lift the lids up top and you put shampoo here, conditioner here, liquid soap here, etc. And then you just push the buttons. So it did away with all the bottles in the shower. And one of the BYU professors purchased this from the student. I think it was $50,000 to the student. So his idea got $50,000. So that's pretty cool. The professor took it into the big box retailers like Walmart and Target, and $50 million of sales on that plastic soap dispenser. That was right here. So I just want to stress, the ideas don't have to be that, complex. There was a young lady that came to me with an antique ragdoll kit. And she came up with this thing, and you assemble it, and when you're all done, you got this cool-looking ragdoll. And so she went to Home Shopping Network on TV, and she showed everybody how you do this and how the kit works and what your end product looks like. And, I guess people loved it. And it went crazy. When you're on camera at Home Shopping Network, there's a big monitor on the floor, and it's telling you how many people are ordering while you're talking. And they wanted her to do $1,000 a minute in sales. And if she met that goal, then they would give her more airtime. So I forget what the number was that she had to have, but for sake of argument, let's say, let's pick a number, 50 orders. This thing was just reeling. The numbers were just going crazy. She had hundreds of people ordering from this. And that's just an antique rag doll. She ended up doing very well financially and has a little ranch outside of Denver. And that's still what she does. So I've seen huge ideas come out of BYU. First of all, the idea I did at PhoneX, wireless phone jack. Back in the early 90s, you still had things like dial-up, and you still had landline phones and that stuff. This is a product you just plug into an electrical socket in the house, and it gave you a phone jack access. So you could plug in a phone without having to have a phone jack there. It was perfect for dial-up also. So we went on and sold 15 million of those. 1-800-CONTACTS came out of BYU. He was in the business plan competition, and he had the idea of selling contacts online. No one was doing it yet. Can you believe that? No one was doing it yet. And he caught this great name, and off he went. And he's one that left school early, went public with his company. It was then purchased and did amazing. Josh James, I mentored Josh James when he's here at BYU, and he came up with ideas like, he's like, Brother Knab, I want to take a hairbrush and I want to put a net over it that Velcros on the back of it. So when you're done combing your hair after a period of time, you don't have to pull the hair out of the brush. You just pull the Velcro netting off, and then the brush is clean again. And I'm like, okay, Josh, but like it's not scalable and it's not going to change the world. And do you want to do it? He went out. It was okay. And then he came back and said, I want to build websites for people. I went, It didn't meet any of my 5 things, that one. And then he said, I want to do analytics. I want to do analysis for big corporate clients on who's coming to the website, why they're coming, where they're going, how long they're staying, et cetera. And I went, wow. So he and John Pestagna built that company, raised $40 million in VC money, and he's the one that sold it for $1.8 billion. He was a starving student when I started talking to him. And truly, I now look to him to mentor me. I mean, he just skyrocketed. Billiards, EX came from BYU, the Antique Ragdoll, many. So, you have to be careful with your ideas. If you've got a hot idea, I recommend when you talk to a company that you have them sign a non-disclosure agreement. That simply means they will agree not to share that idea, and it gives you some right. A lot of companies won't sign an NDA. Many of them will. I think it's good to prepare a little prototype sample of whatever it is you're talking about. You could even carve it in soap. If it's a new handheld phone, but you don't have the resources to build one, just take some wood or soap, get an artist to do it for you. It's always helpful to have a simple sample. It's really not hard to work with factories in China. I know as a student you're thinking, how in the world would I ever work with someone in China?